Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes, and because of the hiatus I took, we are belatedly recapping a couple of the key matches from Season 52 because I found a couple of these pretty interesting. We're going to have one more after this video, and then we're going to get caught up with Season 53. So for this, Grand Arena, the penultimate match of Season 52. And what you can see here is we won the first round match, and we are fairly close to Kyber 1, where if I win out the week, I can achieve my goal of Kyber 1 with 6 GLs. And now my opponent today, pretty solid player. He's a very similar player to me who is also 6 GLs. So he's going to be a threat. Also very nice guy, reached out in the chat. So I wanted to get this video up so that he could see how his defense performed. And since we're here, I'll show you how the first round went. This was a default win. It's not that there's nothing to really break down here. But with the look at the bracket, Lurk Stifle this is how his roster breaks down. And you can see as a 6GL player, there's going to be some interesting things to look at, and we need to be careful with these kinds of guys because they know what they are doing. But I am approaching this a little bit differently. Now, how I describe how I play is I try to have more of everything else because I don't have as many GLs as my opponents typically. And you can see that proven out here where I've got more GP than Lurk. I've got more Omicrons. I've got 6 more Amis. I've got more depth, although he has more overall relics. But when we look at the relic distribution, you see that he has more of his relics in tier 3 and tier 5. I have a higher count in 7, 8, and 9. He also has more in tier 6. So I have a lot of my relics weighted towards the higher end, so that is going to be an advantage towards my roster. And then as we look at the mods, I had some of the best mods in this bracket. Not the best, I think you can see that on screen. There's a guy at plus 26.4 and plus 19 on the top 500 average. That's really impressive. But I think I was about second, where my averages of plus 26.08 outpaces Lurk's roster, and with the top 500, I'm just not quite lapping, but I have a massive advantage on the top 500 averages, and you see that in the specific counts, where I've got 18 more than him on the 25 plus. With the 20 plus, I've got 100 more than him, and with the 15 plus, just a massive amount, and that just is reflected in those averages. With the Datacrons, he's taken them seriously. He was among the top half of the bracket with Datacron participation. With GLs, as both of us being 6GL players, you see the differences where he's missing 2 of the more recent GLs with Leia and Lord Vader, whereas all of my GLs are the more recent ones, and I am missing Rey and SLKR. But you can see that my opponent has a good amount of Relic 8s and 9s on the GLs that he does have. With the Omicrons, he's got 3 on Melgus, who's at Relic 7. He's got a very good Radis, but that one is an irrelevant one. His Iden's okay at Relic 3, and a little bit slower on the speed. Starkiller with 3 Amis, but a little bit slower on speed. He's got Wampa at Relic 5. I like to have Wampa higher, and his Savage is looking good. But you see what he doesn't have. He doesn't have Afra. His third sister's a little bit weaker at Relic 5. No Malicos and no Mando Bow. Also, his third sister is without an Omicron, which is pretty, I want to say egregious, but it's a little harsh, but it's pretty egregious for a character as impactful as third sister to not have that Ami. You want to be holding Amis aside for a character like her, and skip Amis like Admiral Radis. He does have Bane, but you can see what he doesn't have are characters like Echo. And then he is also without Jedi Knight Cal Kestis and without the Leviathan. So without a key capital ship. And that is really going to be the most important differentiator between our two rosters. But you can also see that he's just overall a little bit more shallow, which is going to force a different strategy from him. And this guy likes to go full offense, and his defense is going to make things a little bit easier for me. Although it's not like a joke of a defense like the last video we put up where I just crushed it with solos. This one, we are going to have to fight through a little bit more. But the back wall is going to be a little bit easier. As we look at the quality of the modding, he's a little bit shallower with the characters above the 300 speed. He's only got 20 characters that meet that mark, where I'm at, I think 30, I just counted this, like 37, I'm between 30 and 40, I think I'm at 37, it might be 32. It's either 32 or 37. His Bosch is the last character at 300 speeds. You can see characters like CLS, Jedi Knight Revan, Moff Gideon, all falling below that threshold, but he's got a lot of key characters modded well, although Master Yoda's way too fast. He doesn't need to be that fast. He gets enough bonus speed where those quality mods could be elsewhere. Now you can see he full cleared 1788 is a good banner total, but we did pick up I think a hold, but he did play my defense very well. But considering that he one-shot most of these teams, I think he only got one hold. But for a banner total of 1788 with me only getting one hold, meant I was stripping banners. My defenses may have lost in one, but they were taking out characters. And as we go through the Grand Arena history after this match, that is what we're going to see here. Because what you are going to see from my offense is a match that is going to look like I should have lost this match. I'm pretty shocked that I won this one. We were able to claw back despite what you're going to see me having a little bit more trouble getting through some of his squads. Now we got Grievous Dash Ray, just checking out which Datacron he has on his Separatist. See if we can use a solo character, like we could Savage that potentially, or a Wampa that potentially. Datacron, we just want to make sure that level 6 ability, make sure we manage it correctly. And we're going to accelerate the speed of this footage as we get into the battle so that we can make this a little bit quicker of a video. You can see First Order down there, or not. Yeah, First or Finn. And then we've got Rey, Qui-Gon, Third Sister without the Ami and only Relic 5, and then an Akbar squad. Now we're going to begin with Rey, do a Star Killer counter, and we'll select our squad, speed up this footage. Oh, and you know what? I actually played this differently. I used Bane because he doesn't have Leia. I did not need to reserve my Bane for a Leia counter, which opened me up to using Bane up against Rey and not really having to deal with any of the RNG. Although Starkiller can still beat Rey, but these versions of Rey with Barriss and Jedi Knight Cal Kestis and JTR, they get more holds up against Starkiller. So I didn't want to mess around with that because I probably would have to be cleaning up. It's a much hard... This comp of Rey is much more annoying to deal with than some of the other ones that you'll see with like Sortie or some just the standard resistance comps. This one's a pain. And you see Bane just making quick work out of all of this. Which was nice, because this may have been a much messier match had we not been able to use Bane as a counter. So I think we're going to talk a little bit of nonsense. Like the big things that have happened was X-Men 97, which I haven't watched. I gave it a few minutes. It didn't really click with me. But I'm going to watch it. I know everybody loves it. I will be returning to it at some point. Okay, so we're going to do Mando Bo up against Third Sister. And this works without, or when Third Sister has the Omicron and higher relics. So this was going to definitely work. Because I have a Kron. I have an Ami. I've got the better squad. This might not splice in. Well, I had to stop the recording because I was burning some food. So we'll just, if there's a discrepancy, that's why. Now here, we've got the advantages. He's got lower relics on Third Sister and no Omicron. So this Mando Bo with this Kron is going to crush it. Now that might still be in the previous cut. But we'll see how this goes. Even in the record, like the record of this isn't great because I'm using a friend's computer because I had to send my computer in for warranty purposes for repair. And this computer is not really meant to play BlueStacks. But Mando Bow here, it's a little laggy, but it's going to work. And we will just crush our way through it. I'll be interested to see what we can do with Mando Bow once this Kron is gone. Well, it's already gone at this point. But to figure out how I plan to utilize her. Now, one of the things that I do like using her up against what I did in Season 53, because we've already done the first match of that, is up against Gungans and Jar Jar, because she can take down the shield generator very quickly. I did that in Territory Wars the other day, and that's one potential use that has been effective, although Gas was a pretty nice Jar Jar counter. Although we have a Kron now, I don't know if Gas works with that Kron. Now, we'll try and fit some nonsense talking while we go through some of this footage, but this was a match. You can see we are able to make quick work out of Third Sister, and from there the squad just falls apart, and we can take out 7th and the side characters. Although you see there's no Grand Inquisitor here, so that's another thing. I wonder if they have Grand Inquisitor. They could just be in a guild where they were able to get Third Sister early. That happens to some players. Second Sister's at Relic 7. What about these other guys? Where are they at? No, Relic 6 on 5th Brother, yeah. Or was it Relic 5 for the... It's Relic 7 for Third Sister farming, so he can't farm Third Sister shards. But he could probably do the event. Yeah, so we finished this up. And not a huge problem. Now we're looking at Qui-Gon and Akbar. Now, Akbar, I'm going to make a mistake. And you're going to see here, I look at Akbar and I'm thinking, oh, I can solo this. I can get some banners to win. Because one thing that can beat Akbar, well, Sidious can beat it. And I was about to do Sidious, and you see me contemplating it. It's like, okay, here's where I'm going to use my Sidious. This is going to work very well up against Akbar. But because I don't know what's on the back wall, and Sidious is so good, I changed my mind at the last minute, and I decided I'm going to use Savage. Because Savage, under normal circumstances, can beat a Akbar Leia Ami squad. However, I didn't factor in everything here. What I didn't factor in was R2. I didn't notice R2 was there, and this is just going to be a mistake. Because you're going to just see R2 completely mess this up. But without R2, Savage can solo it. So we're looking for whatever Kron to pair with this. I think we're just going to skip ahead. Can we skip ahead? So we get into this. We want to start doing some damage. What I would like to do is take out Akbar. So we do a basic, we mark Akbar, but they cleanse so much that the mark doesn't really matter. But I'm still going to go after Akbar because I would like to eliminate him quickly. Now we got to deal with Han because he started taunting. And now here's the problem. R2 is stealthing. Now we can I should still be able to take out Han. I think I was able to take out Han. I can't remember specifically, but because Han's taunting, we can go after him, and that's straightforward and easy. So we have him in the yellow. And right here, we can eliminate Han. Everything's going fine. This is how I expect things to go, but now things are a little bit different. So I'm going after Akbar. I want to take Akbar out. Things are fine. This part's all normal. It'd take a couple turns. Inflicting damage on Akbar. And then right here, boom. R2's messing me up. That stealth is just going to hop around to whoever is strongest. And I'm not able to focus down on anyone. I can't eliminate R2 because he keeps throwing on the stealth onto Fulcrum or Akbar. I can't go after Leia. They keep recovering the protection, but because that stealth keeps hopping around, it just messes this up. And that is the problem of having not factored in R2. And so this puts me into a pretty precarious situation with my opponent where I only got one hold. And now I very stupidly messed up this battle. You see me like, oh, okay, I need to take out R2 before he puts everybody under stealth, and now I can't. It's just, this whole thing happens where I don't have the opportunity to take out who I want to take out. And I'd like to just be able to put this stuff on auto. Yeah, but we'll let this play out. You can... No, you know what? Maybe we just skip ahead. Let's just skip ahead. We don't need to see this for another... I mean, even though it's accelerated, it's not quite 2 minutes. But... because we took out Han, I just played it out. Alright, we'll start from here. But pretty disappointing miscalculation on my end. And what we're going to do to ultimately take it out is what my first instinct was. My first instinct was using Sidious. And I swapped it out at the last moment. So I could have been efficient about it. So we bring in Sidious. This Kron is going to be very effective because AoE damage to ignore any issue with the stealth mechanics. We're going to be able to dispel buffs, land all those damage over times, and it's going to be fantastic. Now they're going to be cleansing a little bit, but it's not going to be enough to cause any problems. It just prolongs the battle. Oh wait, did I? I think I need to accelerate this footage again. So we do a couple hits. I'm trying to remember if I was trying to talk about nonsense in some of the previous cuts before I realized I was burning food. I think I was talking about X-Men 97. Because with X-Men 97, I haven't watched it yet, but I know it's good and people loved it, and I do intend on watching it. Haven't watched Tales of the Empire yet. But What did happen during this season that I didn't talk too much about, I don't believe, because I only posted like one or two videos from this season, was Fallout. And I do love Fallout, so I do want to make some thoughts. With Qui-Gon, what did I even do here? Jedi? Oh, Bad Batch? Yeah, and this is a mistake. This is a mistake. Oh, no, this isn't a mistake because this works, but you're going to see me play it wrong. Because this is what happens. I get in my head. I make a mistake at one point in the battle. I get in my head. And then I do something stupid. And you're going to see it here. We're playing things normal. It's fine. But that was a mistake right there. I needed to let Anakin go. And you see me right now ignoring Anakin, not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about it right now. And boom. You have to let Anakin do his AoE first. And it's actually one of the problems when you go up against an opponent with worse mods. Because that doesn't happen up against opponents with good mods. Because opponents with good mods have fast Anakins. Opponents who have a weaker mod set, you will find yourself trying to counter the Qui-Gon, and if you don't constantly think about it and remember it, because if you're used to going up against a faster Anakin, he's already done his AoE and you're not even paying attention to it. With the slow ones, you have to delay your attacks to give Anakin the opportunity to burn that AoE. And so now, back-to-back matches, I got to deal with a cleanup, and my opponent was only held once. Yeah, and here I'm just looking for something that I think is going to be a safe win. Yeah, so we get our masks. We'll just cover some stuff. So Fallout, there's a chance I mentioned this in a video, but it may have just been in a record that I ultimately decided not to post. But the general feeling about it is I like the show. It was a very impressive and faithful rendering of the games. But I ultimately felt that the show was too formulaic to reach a satisfying level for me. It was very tropey. It had a very familiar and lazy premise of just father figure or father gets kidnapped and go find the person. And then there's a twist. All that stuff just was very predictable. But I don't have too much of a problem with it just because maybe that was what was necessary for the audience who is not familiar with Fallout to get immersed into the world. To just not make a huge learning curve where the audience is both absorbing a new world and absorbing a complicated plot. Although, plenty of shows to it. Let me fix this camera. Bigger problem, though, was Fallout should have been week by week. Yeah, so we took out Kenobi. Now we were working on taking out Anakin because Kenobi was preventing us from attacking who we wanted to attack. And now with Anakin down, we can just auto and clean it up. One thing I did watch, and not even watch, I rewatched, is the other night I rewatched Dark City, which is definitely a cult movie that a lot of people are familiar with. But for the younger people here, if I worry that movie just might get lost to time. That movie's amazing. I really like that movie. There were more flaws in it this time in this rewatch where there were some things that didn't bother me before that bothered me with this watch. But it's a movie that is really impressive with the world building it creates, the set design, the writing and acting is all excellent. And I wonder if it's one of those movies that just gets lost to time because I don't feel like as many people talk about it. It's like if you know kind of movie. But it's the guy who made it is the guy who made The Crow. And it's very solid. And I still loved it quite a bit. Alright, so we brought out Afra to try and take down Finn. And the reason I did this was because in the Swugga data, it says this is possible. And I've tried now multiple times to try and get it to work, and it doesn't work. I wonder if it's because the data is going up against versions that don't have the cron, and the cron data hasn't really effectively filtered down. But now you see 3 matches. I've now dropped 3 matches to this opponent. And I've already teased that I won this match, which I still am astounded by. It's part of the reasons why I'm saying it now at this point versus because like it's that perplexing on a certain level that I was able to win this match despite the hole that I dug myself into. Okay, so this doing Night Sisters up against Zori with this cron, you got to be careful. So I think maybe it's worth talking about how I approach this. So you need to get somebody taken out, and then you want to start spamming the basics. So you get these revives, because you need to stack the damage and health onto Daka. So what you're going to see me not do is I don't use the middle special too much. Now I'm doing it early in the match because we're still early where I have not stacked enough health onto Daka, but you're going to see at a certain point I'm going to transition to not using it anymore. And now that Telzing's the preferred character I want to be sacrificing to the revives. But now I'm just going basics. Basics and dispel from massage because I want to get away from that taunt if I can. You can see we have a lot of plague stacking on Hondo. We're going to be getting my damage up from Asajj. You can see Hondo's almost gone. We go with an AoE, probably shouldn't have. Now Hondo's gone. Now with Zori out of stealth, we go after Zori. Trying to get as much plague as I can onto Zori. Probably could have gone for this stun a little bit sooner, but I kind of, because of the tenacity mechanics, I just didn't trust that I was going to land the stun. Resistance Hero Finn's a little bit more of the threat, so I'm going after for him because he's the engine for Inspired. Yeah. And boom, there we go. Now, Grievous, Dash, you're going to see me. I should do Wampa here. Wampa, it would be the move. It's not a dangerous separatist one. Plus, I checked the Kron earlier, and that Kron is not of a type that I felt was going to affect this match. And what I need to do to win is I got to make up banners, which means as many solos and undersizes as possible. So we'll go for a little damage. Roars and damage. And there's nothing to talk about here. Everybody knows how to do Wampa versus Grievous. I do have my farming done on Stap. I have not found a low gear Stap to be useful. Although I'll do a little bit more now that I just brought him to gear 12. Low star is definitely not viable. And I do have the Omicron on my Stap. Because I kind of like the Omicron. Alright, first order here. No Omicron. So that should be soloable. Did I try to do a solo with that? The dash here we got to take a little bit more seriously. Oh, okay. Set the Eternal Emperor. Not a bad choice. Go with the Ignore Taunt. And then go in for a solo. Link dash, and it's not even Vandor, so I mean, it's not that it matters too much, but you can see there's a few resistance characters here. I believe there's a resistance Kron, and we got Captain Han for the revive. But ultimately not really a comp that's too much of a concern. This is really just relying on the quality of Dash and his Ami, but there's a low ceiling to what this squad can really do, which is part of the reason why I just don't recommend this Omicron at all. And it was something I was consistent on from day one. Alright, Phasma here. Do I go for this? Okay, I didn't go for a solo. I went for the undersize. Because generally Luke will solo a crew lead. There's been a match where I tried to solo a Phasma lead, and it was probably with the Omicron. I probably could have just done it without. But I've dropped one before up against the Phasma. Maybe it was Hux lead. Maybe it wasn't Phasma lead. Maybe we were fine. Whatever. I used to have it in my head that Luke was a safe solo against any variety of a first order squad. But because I dropped one once, I have pulled back on that, and I wanted to be a little bit more careful. But still, a duo undersize, that's still good on banners. Alright, so we head to the back wall. We were able to very quickly solo a few of those, but I was keeping track of my opponent's banners through, because I was watching his attacks. I think I was about like 90 banners behind him at this point. Where he was, but with clearing the front territories. which I don't know how he's going to make up that many banners, because at most with these solos, I'm making up. No, it wasn't 100 banners. I was 50 banners behind. So I'm 50 banners behind my opponent, I believe. Because with the solos, I can only make up like 26 banners-ish. Because I think you go from like 60 to 69. Something like that. So we got JML solo up against Bounty Hunters. And we blow it up quick. But you can see that with the weaker defense that he's setting down, he's giving me an opportunity. And it's because his roster is more shallow. And this back wall is very weak. And we got a Rolo squad here with nonsense. And this is one of the things that I also talked about, and I think I talked about in the last video, where I really push back against the idea that relics matter. I'm trying to phrase this in a certain way. Relics are not the most important thing. Synergy is way more important. Back with, hopefully this footage is going to record properly now. I had to restart this computer. It's alluding to the improperness of this machine. My computer comes back on Saturday though, so we'll be in a good position. Get away from the microphone. You cannot do that. Yeah, you can't touch the wires. Yeah, so I think we were saying something about how we have a bunch of relic characters here with no real synergy, and it doesn't offer anything. I guess they're technically all rebels, but who cares? It's not offering anything. And now for Cody, one more solo. So what do we get out of this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 solos? 7? 6. I mean, that's a good amount of solos in this match. Like, we had a couple tough defenses, a couple misplays on my end. But now we got Maul going up against another set of relic characters. Like, I think he would have been better off setting down a team with synergies than setting down these kinds of teams. Because ultimately, I think, like, this is a little risky. Like, Maul's not a great solo character. But you put him... Is this messing up again? If you put Maul up against the team with the right kind of synergies, like, it's not going to work. Like, you can see even in this scenario here, up against this squad, doesn't look safe. Now, I'm spreading around these attacks from the Anguish, because what I really would like is to reset my stacks of Anguish. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And we accomplished that goal. But look, just these 3 characters almost take Maul out. This is what I mean. Maul is not a great solo character. But because these characters have no synergy, I was able to take advantage of that and still manage to solo this, even with this unideal character. Now we're going to transition to fleets, and you can see I am behind, but not as much. I forget what the total was. I may have made up the banners. I didn't write down in my notes what his banner total was at the start of fleets. I did write down the banner total by the second battle in fleets, and by the second battle of fleets, I had pulled ahead. So Profundity here up against Radis. Like, Profundity is going to crush it because we're going to dispel all the buffs, dispelling the Deflector Shield shuts down this fleet. And what you see me also doing here is I'm going way undersized on my fleets. Like, I think, did I bring in any reinforcement? I think maybe, can we check that out? Yeah, so I only brought in 1 reinforcement ship instead of 2 because I think it's 8 banners. No, it's 4 banners per slot. Yeah, you're getting 4 extra banners per empty slot. So that gives me a little bit more in that match. And he's got mace here. This mace is junk. Well, I mean, I guess that complete junk is the Sith ships, but still, that's not ideal. And you're going to see me take out a couple of the reinforcements. Now, one of the theories that I had for why I was able to pull ahead was I was thinking that maybe he had filled out his slots with his fleet on offense. But in his history, that's not how he played it. We'll pull up the history after this. Yeah, so I'm just trying to decide what I want to prioritize. Part of the reason we did Chimera here is because, like, we know this can beat the Leviathan, it's going to beat this. And we do our AoE damage. Bomber will go down. We switch to the FCI because we already got 1 sacrifice from the bomber. And from there, it's real quick work. And there. Now this last one up against the Finalizer, we got the Marauder. Like, the Marauder's going to crush it. Plus, it's a 5-star Finalizer. The only question is, how many ships do I want to bring along? But I know I already have the lead in terms of banners at this stage, so I don't need to be super careful, but I still want to do as much as possible. Yeah, so they're doing some quick damage onto Anakin. I'm going after the shuttle, because that's more of the engine. I'm going to keep Anakin alive so I heal him. Bring out Plo. Grab that turn meter to pull ahead of these ships. And now I want to take out Kylo. Yeah, and we're done. So this, I don't know how I pulled this off. But it keeps the dream alive of trying to achieve a 3-0 week and get Kyber 1 to wrap up season 52. And you can see 1810 banners, and I dropped 3 battles. That's pretty shocking. But my opponent played great. He only dropped 1 battle. It's just it's the difference between the defenses. Mine was stripping banners, and I was able to solo his. And that makes a huge difference between these banner totals. With Lurk's performance up against my defense, you can see you can see what I'm talking about here. You have my Lord Vader goes down to Fennec, but it takes out 2. Banners 56. Melgus drops Bastila Fallen, going up against my Seer Malicos, which includes Gear 12 characters. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not afraid to use Gear 12 and Gear 11 characters. It's one of the things we've been doing since day 1 on this channel. He savages the CLS. That's legit at 68. Darth Bane, yes. Sith Eternal Emperor up against Melgus, yes. goes with an undersize with JML, but it's a light undersize, but 65 banners. This is all solid work. Treya undersize up against Finn. Then he does Hera Crux up against Radis. These are good banner totals. Then Jabba up against Inquisitors, 59 banners. JMK then drops up against Jabba. Cleans up with CLS, but that's only gets 44 banner total. Then we got SLKR loses armor up against Trench for 59, and then you can see the fleet totals. You can see with his attack, every fleet slot is full. So that makes a massive difference in the banner total because it's 4 banners per slot. So with my Profundity, I got 12 banners by keeping 3 empty slots. You can see the same thing with the Executrix. This was full. I had 2 empty slots. I had 8 extra banners. So I'm getting 68 banners. I'm getting, 72 banners or something with my Profundity. And same deal with the Malevolence. Actually, the Malevolence, he didn't have all his slots filled. So that one is a little bit different. But 20 banners. I made up 20 banners just from empty slots with my fleet. And you can see that with the banner total here, just going down again, you can to look at the specifics, 76 banners on this Profundity battle. Again, he got 60. I got 16 more banners because I had empty slots. 71 and 74, and he's getting 60. Like, I'm getting 10 plus banners per my fleet attempt, and that makes up the difference. That's how I won this match. Solos and going undersize on the fleet. Just making sure you understand those kinds of mechanics. Huge difference. And we'll wrap it up there. We got only one more match. We'll see if I can finish this season up at 3-0, secure Kyber 1, which is a big goal for this channel, and then we will get on to the season 53 3v3 season elements. We'll wrap it up there. We got a video on Master Qui-Gon, roster update videos as well, and we have more coming. We're back into the swing of things over here. So thank you for watching. Be nice to each other, everybody. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.